No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
A march on Washington to protest blacks killed by white police officers or police officers in general. Joining me to discuss this, Cheryln Harley Lebon. Cheryln Harley Lebon, welcome.
Great to be with you.
Now, you're affiliated with Project 21.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us just briefly what Project 21 is?
Project 21, very simply, is a network of black conservatives and libertarians across the United States, and we offer just an alternative perspective than what mainstream media and regular media is sort of associating with black Americans. And we're offering free market perspectives and public policy papers and just perspectives on a number of different public policy issues.
All right. Well, then, in the specific issue of this march in Washington,
Sure.
Was it useful?
Well, let's sort of educate your listeners about what sort of this march was. This march was sort of advertised as a march on police brutality and sort of under the veil of what has happened in Ferguson and in Staten Island. And I think one of the first problems is the two incidences are very different, right? The facts of Ferguson and Staten Island, while both are very unfortunate, are different. And what I proposed in the piece that many people have...
How about we do a march in Washington for jobs? Or how about we do a march in Washington for improving these failing public schools in our urban areas? Because if you really want to get at the root of the problem, you kind of need to start from the back end. And the back end is these kids don't have jobs and useful things to do. And the jobs are not available to them. And that could be a variety of reasons. It could be educational opportunities. It could be there are not enough jobs in the urban areas. We need to revitalize these areas. There's lots of ways that we could come at combating this problem, but to have one day of a march against police brutality, I'm just not sure that gets us where we need to be.
Have things gotten better or worse or stayed the same for black Americans since Barack Obama became president?
Well, that's a very good question, and depends on who you talk to. Some argue that race relations have in fact deteriorated since Barack Obama became president. I'd like to think of it as, you know, we had a great opportunity here with having the first black president. And I just don't see in the last 6 years how the dialogue has really improved or shifted with respect to race relations.
Well, one of the people fronting this protest, I think, in Washington was Al Sharpton. There are
Sure.
many civil rights leaders with whom I might disagree, and that's fine because you have debate. But I would say with him specifically, it's sad that anyone allows him to be involved. I think he is nothing more than a shill for himself.
Yeah, I would agree. And I find it really unfortunate because I find that the media sort of feeds into his ego and feeds into this whole idea that he in fact represents the civil rights community. Let me give you another example. You know, no one really wants to focus on the fact that 93% of all black youth deaths, including, you know, what I mean is black male youth, the result of their death is crime that's being committed by other black youth. You know, that's a black male genocide. Wouldn't that be great if Al Sharpton could have a march or an effort to combat that problem, black on black crime? 93% of all deaths with young black men are being committed by other black men. I think that is worthy of a major march and a major effort, but we don't hear any discussion about that, and I find that very unfortunate.
Well, Cheryln, I've had people, when I've attempted to discuss that particular issue, tell me that I'm only bringing that up to distract from the fact that the police are the enemy.
Well, I'll tell you, that statistic, 93%, that's black on black crime. That is not white cops killing young black men. It's young black men killing other black men. And again, this march was just a missed opportunity because we need to talk about the black genocide happening in the black community.
So if you were president, or better yet, queen, and you could just get something done in a moment, what's the first thing you would do to change that?
I'd clean up these schools. I would get rid of these teachers' unions that are failing these kids. I would get, schools with standards that hold these teachers and principals accountable. I think it's a shame that minority kids are stuck in these failing public schools and have no other options. I think every child deserves access to an excellent and equal access education, and that's not what we have right now in our urban areas.
Well, Cheryln, I am Canadian and I'm broadcasting in Canada, but I lived for several decades in the United States, and I saw what some people have called the soft bigotry of low expectations, where schools were accepting of horrible results from inner city schools full of black kids.
Right, and this is, quite frankly, this has been happening for decades, right? Because for 40 years and longer, Democrats have controlled many of these urban cities and teachers' unions have controlled the schools. And my question always is, what is the result? The result is you have some kids graduating from high school in these urban areas with barely, with remedial level math, English, and writing skills. And that, to me, in 2014 is simply unacceptable.
Cheryln Harley Lebon, it was good to have you. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.